Good evening, everyone. The meeting will start. Can I please have your attention, please? Just a few notes. If you need to go to the washroom, it's just outside the door and down the hall to the right there. And also tonight, we're going to hear from a lot of people, and this is really good. This is what democracy is about, and this is what our process is about. We want to hear from you. I'm going to be asking you to be respectful of the time. The clerk will have it timed, and it will be when your time is up, I believe, Ashley?
Yes.
Okay. Also, if you've heard the same thing over and over again, and you just want to add your voice, say, I just want to add my voice to what always been said, rather than repeating it, because it's going to be a long night. Okay, so good evening and welcome everyone to the Township of North Dumfries Public Planning Meeting of June 28th. We have 5 Committee of Adjustment applications and 1 public planning meeting application scheduled for this evening's meetings. Members of the public are able to attend the Township office in person to speak to any application or register with the Clerk's Division to attend electronically. Members of the public who have registered to attend electronically have been provided with a Zoom link to join the meeting this evening and have indicated to staff which application they would like to participate in. Staff will move these people in and out as they register for the meetings to speak in order that the application being heard and those who are present in person will be able to speak to the application when it is reached on the agenda and will be asked to approach the podium to speak. Please note that all speakers are provided with no more than 5 minutes to address the application. The clerk will time each speaker and advise the chair when their 5-minute time limit is up. Members of the public who are provided with the following methods to watch and participate in this meeting, open public meeting electronically. Attend the Township office located at 2958 Greenfield Road. Watch the live stream by accessing the meeting on the Township's YouTube page. Attend electronically to observe the meeting or to speak to an item on the agenda. Submit written comments to the Clerk's Division that have been provided to the Mayor and Council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. I'd now like to call this meeting to order, and I'd like approval of the agenda, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Roloman that Council adopt the June 28th, 2022 public meeting agenda as presented with the following addendums. 1, amend the staff recommendation for item 7.3, report number PD 25-2022, minor variance application for 246 Piper Street, file number A04/22, amend and add conditions and add 1 piece of correspondence related to this item. 2, amend the staff recommendation for item 7.5, report number PD 27/2022, minor variance application for 1741 Seaton Road, file number A06/22, add 1 new condition and add 1 piece of correspondence received related to this item. 3, add 1 piece of correspondence received for item 7.3, report number PD 25-2022, minor variance application for 246 Piper Street, file number A04/22. 4, add 1 piece of correspondence received for item 7.4, report number PD 26-2022, minor variance application for 160 Hilltop Drive, file number A05/22. 5, add 15 pieces of correspondence received for item 8.1, report number PD 29-2022, proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 1107 Cedar Creek Road, file number ZC06-21. 6, rearrange the agenda to move item 7.4, report number PD 26-2022, minor variance application for 160 Hilltop Drive, file number A05/22 to follow item 7.6.
All those in favor? Councillors, raise your hand, please, in favor. That's carried. Thank you. Yeah.
Maybe she didn't raise her hand high enough.
Yeah, just raise your hand, please, I'll show you how it is. Thank you. What you're on post, no, on my screen. We'll carry on anyways. I would now like to make the Indigenous territory acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe individual people. We acknowledge the enduring presence of the Indigenous people with whom we share this land today, their achievements and their contributions to our community. We offer this acknowledgement as an act of reconciliation between the Indigenous and the non-Indigenous people of Canada. And now I'd like to take a moment that we reflect on what happened in the past. We learn today and interact with our Indigenous partners so that we can move forward as a stronger Canada. I'd like a few moments of silence, please. Thank you. Councillors, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? Seeing none, adoption of the minutes of the public planning for May 17th, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Gillespie, that Committee of Adjustment approve the meeting minutes dated May 17th, 2022.
All those in favor?
Wrong motion.
Oh, it's the wrong one.
Councilman Curry has one.
Oh, Councilor Curry. I apologize. Councilor Curry, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rowland, the council approved the public planning meeting minutes dated May 17th, 2022.
All those in favor? That's carried. Sorry, it's a public, you guys are all intimidating us. That's a little bit. Committee of Adjustment, Councilor Rowland, please.
Moved by myself, second by Councilor McCurry, that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:06 p.m. to sit as Committee of Adjustment for the purposes of holding public meetings pursuant to provisions and planning.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And motion to approve the minutes of the adjustment. Councilor Gillespie.
Oh, Councilor Osner.
Councilor Osner.
Moved by myself, second by Councillor Gillespie, that Committee of Adjustment approve the meeting minutes dated May 17th, 2022.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And staff, actually, Cynthia, you will advise me when are you ready? And as Cynthia is moving in and out, just want to tell people that when you make your comments, there may be questions from council, but there may not be. It's our job to hear and listen to what you have to say so we can make good decisions at the end. So first up is report number 7.2, PD 24-2022, a minor variance application for 26 Gurley Farm Lane, file number A-02-2022. Notice has been given to those who have requested it. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. These individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. So if you're here on this application, ensure that you sign the sign-in sheet up here for this file. I'd now like to introduce Christina Blazanovic, the Planner GIS Technician, who will be presenting this application. Christina, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, Administration. This evening, I will be presenting the recommendation report regarding variance applicant A02-2022 for 26 Gourlay Farm Lane. The property is located on the side of Farm Lane between Miracle Street and Vincent Drive. The rectangular shaped lot is 0.09 or 363 meters squared in size. with a corresponding lot frontage of 12.18 meters on Gourlay Farmland. First dwelling. The subject property is within the township.
Christina, you're breaking up. Could you
area and
take your video
designated
off?
Greenfield area. Subject property designated urban residential and ancillary. Yes, sorry. Okay. Sorry. So the subject property is designated urban residential and ancillary, and it is also within the Cedar Creek watershed study area. The subject property is zoned Z4D, urban residential with exemption 20.1.312. Sorry. I'm just going to stop my screen share there for a second.
Seems to be the night with technical difficulties. Cynthia, will you share the screen?
Sorry.
Maybe it'd be, Christina, let Cynthia share the screen for you. Then we'll
Here's
just watch your internet. If you can go to slide 4, please. Thank you. Are you able to adjust the view just to show the screen of the PowerPoint? Christina, don't worry about full screen. Just carry on with the presentation, please.
Okay, thank you. The owner is proposing the construction of a gazebo and pergola over a stone patio. The structure will be physically attached to the dwelling, which makes this a part of the residential dwelling. The west half is proposed to be a pergola with an open roof structure. The east half is proposed to be a gazebo with a covered roof. And the proposed structure will be 9.48 meters wide and extend 5.48 meters into the rear yard. The total area of the proposed structure is 509 square feet. Next slide, please. This photo is a view of the rear of the subject property and the proposed area of the gazebo pergola structure. Next slide, please. There have been no comments and concerns from many members of the public. There are no objections from the Region of Waterloo, Waterloo Catholic District School Board, Waterloo Region District School Board, GRCA, or Grand Bridge Energy. The Engineering Public Works Department will require a revised individual lot grading plan. The building department has stated that no additional accessory buildings or structures would be permitted in the rear yard. The remaining rear yard area is to be maintained as landscaping and/or grass. Any encroachments of overhangs and eaves must comply with the general provisions of the zoning bylaw. An Ontario land surveyor will be required to pin the location of the structure prior to construction, and the maximum height cannot exceed 14 feet and 8.5 inches. Next slide, please. Planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the 4 tests of a minor variance as outlined by the Planning Act. The first test being that the proposed variance conforms with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. In this case, an accessory structure of similar scale, height, and massing would be permitted to be located 1 meter from the rear and side lot lines, if not attached to the principal dwelling. The proposed structure was within the minimum requirements of the zoning bylaw. Number 2, does the pergola conform with the general intent of the official plan? The proposed gazebo pergola is compatible with surrounding land uses and will not have an effect on adjacent properties. Number 3, if the proposed variance is desirable. The proposed gazebo pergola will provide an amenity area for homeowners, and the proposed gazebo pergola is an appropriate use of the subject property. Number 4, is the proposed variance minor in nature. The proposed gazebo pergola would not require a variance if freestanding. The proposed gazebo pergola meets all other zoning regulations for accessory structures and buildings. As well, a recent amendment to the general zoning bylaw added new regulations for decks. A deck is now permitted to encroach a maximum of 3 meters into a required rear yard. Although the proposed gazebo pergola will not be situated on a deck, the proposed encroachment into the rear yard is 5.4 meters, which is a difference of only 2.4 meters. Next slide, please. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed minor variance is compatible. Staff's planning opinion is based on the following. The application aligns with applicable planning policies. There were no major concerns received from members of the public or external and internal agencies. The requested variance meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. The vacant land to the rear will not be developed for some time, and it would not be practical to defer this application until there are rear yard neighbors. The remaining area will remain as landscaping grass. If the structure was freestanding, the current zoning regulations would permit the structure to be a maximum height of 5.2 meters, whereas the proposed height is 4.5 meters. It would also permit the structure to be enclosed, whereas the proposed gazebo and pergola will not have enclosing walls. It would permit a maximum size of 60 meters squared, whereas the proposed size is just over 53 meters, which is a difference of approximately 7 meters squared. And it would permit the structure to be located 1 meter from any interior or rear lot line, whereas the gazebo and pergola is proposed to be 2.08 meters from the rear lot line and 1.2 meters from the side lot lines. Through this minor variance application, the township also has more directional control by having the ability to ensure that there are no impacts to drainage through the requirement of a revised individual lot grading plan. Last slide, please. Based on the planning analysis, staff recommend that minor variance A-02/22 for 26 Gourlay Farm Lane be approved with conditions. As there are quite a few conditions, some of the key conditions include that the owner applicant will submit a revised individual lot grading plan, that the gazebo and pergola will have a minimum rear yard setback of 2.08 meters, that no additional accessory buildings will be permitted in the rear yard, that the remaining area is to be maintained as landscaping and green space, and no further expansion of the gazebo or pergola or principal dwelling unit into the rear yard will be permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this file? Seeing none. Is there any member of the committees that have any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that PD report number 24/2022 be received and that minor variance application A-222 being a request to seek relief from general zoning bylaw 689-A3 to permit a covered gazebo pergola in a rear yard dwelling setback of 2.08 meters, whereas section 20.1.312A2 of the general zoning bylaw requires a minimum rear yard dwelling setback of 7.5 meters, be approved, subject to the following. 1, the owner applicant will submit a revised individual lot grading plan to the satisfaction of the township of North Dumfries. 2, the gazebo pergola will have a minimum rear yard setback of 2.08 meters. 3, the additional accessory buildings or structures, or 3, no additional accessory buildings or structures will be permitted in the rear yard. 4, the covered gazebo cannot exceed a size of 5.4864 meters by 5.4864 meters. 5, the proposed pergola may not contain a roof. 6, the remaining area in the rear yard is to remain as grass and landscaping. 7, no further expansion of the gazebo, pergola, or principal dwelling unit into the rear yard will be permitted. 8, the gazebo pergola structure may not be enclosed with walls. 9, the gazebo pergola may not be converted into habitable living space. And 10, the gazebo pergola shall have a maximum height of 4.5 meters.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Cynthia, you advise when you're ready for the next one?
We can spin it.
See how exciting council meetings are? Aren't you glad you haven't been here more often? Try and get used to this stuff. Are you going to do the sections and numbers? Thank you.
Ready.
Thank you, Cynthia. 7.3, report number PD 25-2022, a minor variance application for 246 Piper Street, file number A-04/22. Notice has been given to those who have requested it. This speech will go on several times. You may know it by heart by the end of the night. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. Those attending in person must sign in on the sign-in sheets located at the entrance to be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. I'd like to introduce Christina again, Planner GIS Technician, who will be presenting this application. Christina, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sarah Magnolia, can you step in if she can't get them? Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Good evening again. This evening, I will be presenting the recommendation report regarding minor variance application A-04/22 for 246 Piper Street. Next slide, please. Thank you. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to clarify concerns raised during the June 13th, 2022 Committee of Adjustment meeting and advance a recommendation for the committee's consideration on the merits of this application. The property is located on Piper Street, west of Rose Street. The property is 0.81 acres in size with a lot frontage of 30 meters onto Piper Street. There is currently a 2-story detached dwelling and a shed on the property. The property is serviced by municipal water and sewer, and the property is listed on the Municipal Heritage Registry. Next slide, please. Please.
Can you disconnect Christina from her voice, please? So, Madam Mayor, members of council, the property from a planning perspective is within the built-up area of the community of Air. The proposed development of the accessory structure is a permitted use within both the regional and township official plan. Subject property is presently zoned Z5 urban residential, single detached dwelling, and accessory buildings are permitted uses within the Z5 zone classification. Next slide, Cynthia. The purpose of this minor variance, this has been before committee as recently as 2 weeks ago, is to construct an accessory building, being a detached garage within the front yard of the property. Presently, the zoning bylaw does not allow an accessory structure to be constructed closer to the street than the principal building on the same lot. This variance was previously considered by council in November 2023 and was approved at a location in front of the dwelling. At the time of the November application, there was an error in the measurement from the setback for the proposed detached garage from the Piper Street road allowance. The application before the committee this evening is to correct that measurement so that the proper setback from Piper Street is properly identified. At the time of the June 13th meeting, council deferred a decision on the merits of the application pending further information as it related to the measurements and whether or not the building as proposed was in the same footprint that committee considered back in November of 2021 when the original decision occurred. So the purpose of the variance is to seek relief from the general zoning bylaw to permit an accessory garage within the front yard, whereas section 648 of the general zoning bylaw requires an accessory building to be located in a rear yard. Next slide, please. So staff did attend the site on June 15th, 2 days after the last meeting, and we can confirm that the application as filed, the accessory garage had not moved from the previous location and was consistent with the footprint on the property. That was the subject of the council committee decision in the fall of 2021. Next slide, please. We have received correspondence from the adjacent owner at 250 Piper Street. And in response to that correspondence, the owner of 246 Piper, that being the applicant, has met with their neighbor, and they have come to a consensus as to a slight adjustment to the positioning of the proposed footprint of the detached accessory structure. What is shown in blue hatched is the location that was approved by the committee in the fall of 2021 and was what was discussed at the June 13th committee meeting. What is shown in red is a slight adjustment of the positioning of the proposed footprint of the accessory structure. And as you can see, the building has shifted slightly further to the north and has shifted slightly closer to the common lot line between 246 and 250 Piper Street. The relocation or adjustment in the footprint of the building was the expressed concern that there may be a reduction in natural light penetrating the kitchen windows, which would be on the east elevation of 250 Piper Street. Next slide, please. There has been no objections received from various government agencies related to the proposed minor variance. It would be required an updated grading plan as an addendum to the building permit application. The Heritage Advisory Committee originally considered this application in the fall of 2021. The committee at that time said that they would accept the location if there were no other appropriate locations identified on the property. And then the focus was then on the design and materials associated with the proposed accessory structure in terms of massing, maintenance of certain types of materials and colors, and the landscaping of the foundation of the building. Next slide, please. So staff have reviewed the context of the minor variance as proposed, as set out in section 44 of the Planning Act. Does the proposed variance conform with the general intent of the zoning bylaw? The intent of the bylaw is to regulate land use controls with respect to the placement of the building. The property is zoned Z5 urban residential. Accessory uses are permitted within the Z5 classification. Does the variance conform with the intent of the official plan? Residential uses and accessory structures are permitted permitted use within both the built-up area and urban residential designations. Is the proposed variance desirable for the property, and is it compatible with adjacent uses? There is presently no garage structure on the property. The accessory building is a permitted use. The purpose of the application is to allow it to be constructed in the front yard of the property. The accessory building would also provide additional amenity space in terms of a recreational space on the second floor of the loft above the garage itself. Next slide, please. And is the variance minor in nature? The intent is to allow for the permission to build the accessory structure within the front yard. In the opinion of staff, it is minor in nature in that the footprint of the building is smaller than what is allowed within the context of the general zoning bylaw for accessory structures. There has been the consideration of the adjacent owner to the immediate east and the recognition of a compromise between the two landowners as to a slight adjustment in the positioning of the proposed building to respect the requests and wishes of the adjacent owner at 250 Northumberland, so that additional natural light would be accommodated within their kitchen window. While the property is large in size, given the footprint of the existing building, and given the significant depth of the residents from the Piper Street road allowance, it is staff's opinion that this is the appropriate location to accommodate the accessory building. Next slide, please. So staff is recommending the approval to the committee of minor variance application A04-2022. Staff is recommending 2 conditions be imposed, and these conditions reflect the adjusted footprint or the location within the property to recognize the consensus that was arrived over the weekend between the owners of 246 and 250 Piper Street. And in particular, that the building would be set back a minimum of 21.94 meters from the Piper Street road allowance. So that would be shifted slightly northerly than what was considered by the committee 2 weeks ago. Additionally, the building would be set back approximately 3 meters from the west lot line or the common lot line between 246 and 250 Piper Street. And once again, that revised setback is part of that consensus that was agreed over the weekend. So Madam Mayor, members of the committee, that is the recommendation of staff related to application A04-2022.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. Emily Loge and Grant Becker wish to speak if there's any questions. Brad and Andrea Sales, are they available?
Yes.
You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I guess to start with, yes, we did come to an agreement with the Beckler family, and I think the blue box on the new document does represent our understanding of where the new structure will be. I would like to call attention to 2 things. First of all, in the notice that we received for the first public meeting, there was a measurement on there of 23.98 meters back from, I guess, the property line at that point. And when we did that measurement at that time, the south wall of the garage is in a similar location to where it is in the new drawing. So we wouldn't agree that, you know, the footprint of the building has not changed, because we used that measurement, and that's why we didn't really raise a concern at that time. The second thing I'd like to draw attention to, just for council's information, is on page 41 of the agenda. You will see the two small kitchen windows. The kitchen window on the right is kind of at the most northerly part. And what we came to agreement is that the south wall of the garage will basically line up at a right angle out from that, the right edge of that window, or the north edge of that window. So that maintains, you know, a good direct path of light, I guess, into our kitchen. Also for, you know, line of sight, if ever we're looking for resale or something, it keeps it so we're not looking directly at a wall. So we have come to, I think, what is a good agreement with the Beckler family. I think it's well represented, and I don't have any further comments.
Thank you, Brad. Is there any member from public that wish to speak on this application? Seeing none, council, any questions? Council Bowman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank staff, thank the CEO and Christina Blasnovich for attending the site with me several times, and meeting with the applicants and meeting with the neighbors. I think it's a great example of how we can all work together and come to a compromise that everybody's happy with. So I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Emily, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you to everyone, and for your continued involvement in this. One clarification I'd like to raise: in the presentation by Mr. McNeely, we indicated that an updated grading plan would be required. I would like to clarify that that is the same document that I would have submitted with the original building permit documentation that I prepared, not prepared by an OLS. In my experience with North Dumfries, the grading plan is generally fine for me to prepare with my BCIN. Wanted to confirm that that is still the case in this condition.
CEO McNeely.
With a BCIN designation, you're qualified to submit a grading plan.
Yeah, thank you. So seeing no other comments, could I please have the motion?
Moved by myself, second by Councilor Rowland. PD report number 25-2022 be received, and that minor variance application A0422 being a request to seek relief from general zoning bylaw 689-83 to permit an accessory building in the front yard of the property, whereas section 648 of the general zoning bylaw requires that the accessory building must be located in the rear of the property, be approved subject to the following. The proposed accessory building shall be set back from the property line by a minimum distance of 21.94 meters or 72 feet 6 inches. The proposed accessory building shall be set back from the west property line by a minimum distance of 3 meters or 10 feet.
All those in favor? Carried, thank you. We are going on to 7.5, and this is a minor variance of plate application for 1741 Seaton Road, file number A-06/22. Notice has been given to those who have requested it. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended, and or registered with the Clerk Division to attend the meeting this evening. Excuse me. Those individuals will be notified of the decision for the convening of future meetings. Shahid, the planning technician, will also be presenting this application. Shahid, please.
Christina now. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, they switched back to Christina. It says tag team. Christina, you're up.
Thank you.
Hi, Madam Mayor. Sorry, go ahead. Christina.
That's the incorrect application. It's 1741 Seaton.
7.4 has been moved to the end of the agenda, Christina. So we are at 7.5, which is PD 27-2022, which is 1741 Seaton.
I can share, Shahid.
7.5.
Yeah,
Thank you. This never happens in regular council, so never happened before. Go ahead, Shahid.
let me, is this 141-741 Seaton Road?
Correct. That's correct, Shahid.
Yeah.
Thank you. This,
Christina, are you taking this?
yes, I will be.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. This is
Christina, would you like me to? Okay.
Shahid, Christina's taking this. Go ahead, Christina.
Thank you. Can you just share the screen again, please?
We're really much more professional than this.
It looks great.
Thank you. This is a recommendation report regarding minor variance application A-06/22 for 1741 Seaton Road. Next slide, please. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to advance a recommendation report for the committee's consideration on the merits of this application. The property is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Seaton Road and Morrison Road. The square-shaped lot is 2.02 acres in size with a corresponding lot frontage of 89.51 meters on Morrison Road and 91.44 meters on Seaton Road. The property consists of a single detached dwelling and an accessory building that is currently utilized as a shed. Next slide, please. The subject property is located within the Clarkson settlement area. The subject property is also within the environmentally sensitive landscape, rural area, protected countryside, and the aggregate bedrock deposit area. A portion of the subject property to the north is within the hazard lands. The proposed accessory buildings will not be within any hazard lands. And the subject property is zone Z2 rural residential. Next slide, please. The owner is
So, madam,
proposing to relocate the existing shed and construct a new detached garage within the front yard of the subject property. As per section 2.126 of the general zoning bylaw, the front lot line for a corner lot is defined as the shorter lot line that abuts a street shall be deemed to be the front lot line, and the longer lot line that abuts a street shall be deemed to be an exterior side lot line. Based on the definition, the front lot line shall be Morrison Road, as it is the shortest distance. The existing shed located at Area A will be relocated to Area B, as shown in the photo to the right. The new detached garage will be constructed in the area labeled A. The existing shed is 24 by 14 feet in size with an overall height of 17 feet. The proposed detached garage would be 24 feet by 30 feet in size with a height of 17 feet, and the overall height would be just over 24 feet. Next slide, please. The first variance being requested is to permit an accessory building, the existing shed, within their front yard as section 6.4.8 does not permit any part of an accessory building to be closer to the street line than the principal dwelling. The second variance being requested is to permit the second accessory building, which is the detached garage, within their front yard as well, as section 6.4.8 does not permit any part of the accessory building to be closer to the street line than the principal dwelling. Next slide, please. The criteria when reviewing minor variance applications set out by Section 45 of the Planning Act include the following 4 tests. If the variance is minor, if the variance is desirable, if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan. Next slide, please. The photo to the left is a drawing of the proposed new detached garage with loft space, and the photo to the right is the existing shed that is proposed to be relocated. Next slide, please. The photo to the left is a view from Seaton Road. As you can see in the photo to the right, the south and east property lines are heavily treed, and the proposed accessory buildings will be screened. Next slide, please. There have been no comments or concerns from any members of the public. There are no objections from the GRCA, Region of Waterloo, Waterloo Catholic District School Board, or the Building Department. The Engineering and Public Works Department stated that the applicant is to be advised that a second driveway will not be permitted, access to Morrison Road will not be permitted, and any modifications to the existing driveway will require a permit. Grandbridge Energy submitted comments that request a review of the drawings prior to approval. I have recommended a condition to ensure the drawings meet Grandbridge Energy's requirements prior to approval. Next slide, please. Planning staff are of the opinion that the requested variances meet the 4 tests of a minor variance as outlined by the Planning Act. The first test being that the proposed variance conforms with the general intent of the zoning bylaw. In this case, the proposed buildings are permitted uses within the Z2 classification. Number 2, do the proposed variances conform with the general intent of the official plan? The proposed accessory buildings are compatible with surrounding land uses and will not have an effect on adjacent properties. Number 3, if the proposed variance is desirable. The proposed location of the accessory buildings is desirable as they will not be located within the GRCA regulation limit or designated hazard lands on the property. And the proposed accessory buildings are desirable for the homeowners as they require additional storage space. And number 4, if the proposed variance is minor in nature. The proposed location of the accessory buildings is within an area that is currently used as the side and rear yards, not the front yard. The proposed area is only considered the front yard by definition within the zoning bylaw. Next slide. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed minor variance is compatible. Staff's planning opinion is based on the following. There were no major concerns received from members of the public or external and internal agencies. The requested variance meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. The south and east property lines are heavily treed, which will provide screening of the accessory buildings from the road and adjacent properties. The proposed accessory buildings will not impact any sightlines at the intersection of Morrison Road and Seaton Road. The total area of the accessory structures are within 3% of the maximum lot coverage. Currently, the east property line is used as the front property line, so the accessory buildings will appear to be located within the side and rear yards. Next slide, please. Based on the planning analysis, staff recommend that minor variance A-06/22 for 1741 Seaton Road be approved with conditions, which include the following: that the proposed accessory building, in this case the existing shed, shall be set back from the front property line by a minimum distance of 3.16 meters at the southwest corner of the building and 4.93 meters at the southeast corner of the building. And the proposed accessory building, so the new detached garage with loft, shall be set back from the front property line by a minimum distance of 26.07 meters at the southwest corner of the building and 28.1 meters at the southeast corner of the building. And lastly, that the owner applicant will submit to Grandbridge Energy drawings that satisfy their minimum clearances to the existing and proposed hydro plants to the satisfaction of Grandbridge Energy. Thank you.
And Zach Bray, is he available? I believe he wanted to speak on his application.
I'm here, but if there's any question.
May any member of the public wish to speak on this file? Seeing none, any members of council, any questions? Zach, I do have a question. It looked like you had a loft, not a balcony off
Yes.
that. So is this going to be like a living space up there?
No. I have a loft up there and the balcony on the back. This, as it sounds, I have a rink back there, so we can watch them up there for our kids.
I understand,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thanks.
Can I have the motion, please?
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that PD report number 27/2022 be received and that minor variance application A622 being a request to seek relief from general zoning bylaw 689-A3 to permit an accessory building or shed in the front yard of the property, whereas section 6.4.8 of the general zoning bylaw requires that the accessory building must be located in the rear of the property, and B, an accessory building garage with loft in the front yard of the property, whereas section 6.4.8 of the general zoning bylaw requires that the accessory building must be located in the rear of the property, be approved subject to the following. 1, the proposed accessory building or shed shall be set back from the front property line by a minimum distance of 3.16 meters at the northwest corner of the building and 4.93 meters at the southeast corner of the building. 2, the proposed accessory building, garage with loft, shall be set back from the front property line by a minimum distance of 26.07 meters at the southwest corner of the building and 28.1 meters at the southeast corner of the building. And 3, the owner applicant will submit to Grandbridge Energy drawings that satisfy all GBE and ESA minimum clearances to existing and proposed hydro plants to the satisfaction of Grandbridge Energy.
Thank you. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
She is, but we still have one more item. Yeah, we'll continue on with.
Okay, next one will be 7.6. PD 28-2022 consent application for 99 Stanley Street, file number B 03/22. Notice was given to those who requested it. The Secretary Treasurer will report everyone who has commented on this application, attended and/or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the meeting of future meetings. I'd like to introduce Shahid Magal, Township Planner Technician, who will be presenting this application. Shahid, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Administration, and the member of public. Tonight, I'll be presenting the consent application B03/2022 for 99 Stanley Street, submitted by Matthew Robson. On April, just to give you some background, on April 26, staff presented the report to committee. The keeper of the meeting was to provide an overview of the agencies. The property is located at the intersection of the Swan Street and Stanley Street. The property is approximately 3,822 square meter, as you can see on the map. Currently, the northern portion of the property is consisting of office building and 9 apartment unit on the upper floor of the existing property, and parking facilities as well. The southern portion of the property is vacant, where the proposed 24 stacked townhouse dwelling unit will be proposed or will be constructed. The township has previously approved a site plan application and minor various application for the subject property. Staff also reviewed the statutory plan for like a provincial statutory plan, regional and township official plan as well, and zoning bylaw. So basically the property is located within a built-up area, and built-up area basically that encourage mixed land use for residential, commercial, recreation, employment, and also encourage the intensification in infill development. As you can see, the property is zoned as Zone 6, and Zone 6 permit the proposed development as well. Just to give you some overview on the proposed development, the purpose of the proposed concept is to sever the subject property into 2 lots, as you can see on the proposed concept sketch. The northern portion, you can see the part identified as a part 1, where the existing building is located, and the southern portion, which is identified as part 2, where the proposed 24 dwelling unit will be stacked townhouse will be proposed. So the proposed severance is basically to facilitate the installation of separate services such as sanitary, water, hydro for each building and property title to facilitate the proposed 24 stacked townhouse development. And the servicing and access easement will be dealt through a blanket easement across the proposed properties. And the necessary cross easement for maintenance, access, and drainage would be granted through the transfer to allow the overall site to operate a single integrated parcel. So basically, the 2 lot will be function or operate as a one property. It's just to sever the property to facilitate the installation of separate services, basically. So in response to circulation of notice of public meeting to adjacent property owner, staff did receive any comments, concern from the member of public. Staff only received 1 letter from the member of public in support of the proposed development. Staff also sent a referral to external agencies and internal department such as Regional Municipality of Waterloo, Grand Waste Energy, Engineering and Public Works Department of the Township, Bell Canada, GRCA, Waterloo Catholic District School Board. So Regional Municipality of Waterloo, they required the applicant, the owner has to provide the archaeological assessment for phase 3 and ministry acknowledgement letter. So that comments will be included as a part of the condition of the proposed consent. So we also received some comments from the Grand Bridge Energy, and they required that the owner shall submit a detailed design estimate and deposit for servicings to the satisfaction to the Grand Bridge Energy. So that comments will be also included as a part of the condition, which is included in the recommended section of the report. Based on the analysis and the comments concern received from the member of public and government agencies, the staff recommend to the proposed application be approved, subject to the conditions including the recommendation section of the report, and based on the analysis, which is the proposed development aligned with the provincial township official plan, and also provincial policy statement growth plan as well. and staff didn't receive any comments, main comments concern from the member of public. No agencies or internal department expressed any major concern. The proposed consent will not negatively create any negative impact to the adjacent property or surrounding land uses as well. And as I mentioned, the site plan previously approved, township approved the previous site plan application. And there's a few items, for example, land grading, lot grading, stormwater management, setback, access, that will be addressed to the site plan agreement, which is already in a process. So, so as I mentioned, staff recommending to approve the consent application based on the recommendation, which is included in the recommended section of the report, which is that the owner applicant has to provide the reference plan be prepared on the Ontario Land Surveyor, showing lot line for proposed severed lot and proposed retained lot. That the owner has to pay the township any outstanding property taxes. Number 3 is that the owner have an appraisal prepared for the severed lot by qualified individual to the satisfaction of the township, and the payment of the calculated cash in lieu of parkland fund to the township in accordance with the section 50 subsection 13 of the Act. 4, condition that the owner prepare to the satisfaction of the township a blanket easement on the proposed severed and retained lot to each other for the purpose of access, utilities, services, parking, or to the township. So the owner applicant also already submitted the easement agreement, which is currently under review by Township Council legal counsel. Number 5th condition is that the owner shall submit a detailed design estimate and deposit for servicing to the satisfaction of the Grand Bid Energy to address their comments. And number 6 is that the owner shall submit the archaeological assessment, phase 3, and ministry acknowledgement letter to the satisfaction of the regional municipality of Waterloo, so that they could address the comments as well. Number 7, the owner or applicant submit the region of Waterloo the consent review fee, and also number 8 is, and the last, the owner applicant pay to the township $320 as an administration fee. So based on the analysis and the comments concern received from the member of public, so staff recommending to the committee to approve the consent application. Thank you so much.
You will answer any questions. I will go to the public. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, is there any comments from council? Seeing none, and due to you not wanting to hear all the details again, I'm going to ask that Councilwoman read it not in its entirety.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Curry, that P report number 28-2022 be received, and that consent application B0322 be requested sever the subject property into 2 lots to provide separate services, sanitary water and hydro, and property title to facilitate the pending redevelopment of a proposed 4-story condominium building consisting of 24 unit stacked townhouse be approved, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Now we are going to go to 7.4. Cynthia, you allow me, you let me know when you're ready. Yeah. 7.4 report number PD-26-2022, a minor variance application for 160 Hilltop Drive, file number A-05-22. Notice was given to those who requested it. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. Those attending in person must sign in the sign-in sheet located at the entrance to be notified of the decision of or the convening of future meetings. And Christina, Planner GIS technician, will be presenting this application. Christina, please.
Thank you. This is an information report regarding minor variance application A-05/22 for 160 Hilltop Drive. Next slide, please. The purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposal, to solicit comments, and identify issues or matters to be assessed by staff. The purpose of this minor variance application is to facilitate the construction of a habitable accessory building in the rear yard of the subject property. Next slide, please. The property is located on the north side of Hilltop Drive, east of the intersection of Howard Marshall Street and Hilltop Drive. The rectangular shaped lot is 0.16 acres or 651 meters squared in size, with a corresponding lot frontage of 14.48 meters or 47.5 feet on Hilltop Drive. The property consists of a two-story single detached dwelling. There is a shed located in the northeast corner of the property with an approximate size of 100 square feet. The subject property is within the designated greenfield area on map 3E of the regional official plan and map 2 of the township official plan. The property is designated urban residential and ancillary. It is also within the Cedar Creek watershed study area, and the property is within the Aggregate bedrock deposit area. The subject property is zone Z4D urban residential with exemption 20.1.250. The owner is proposing the construction of an accessory building with habitable living space within the rear yard of the property. The accessory building does not meet the definition of a coach house as there's no kitchen or cooking facility. The proposed accessory building will contain 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, and a small living area. The proposed size of the accessory building is 14 feet by 24 feet and a height of 11 feet 8 inches. The proposed accessory building will have a small porch of either 4 feet by 4 feet or 6 feet by 6 feet. The photo to the left is an approximate floor plan of the proposed accessory building, and the photo to the right is a view of the north and south elevations. The homeowner wishes to provide a living space for their grandmother, as she is elderly and not able to use the stairs in the principal dwelling. All meals will be prepared within the principal dwelling, and the owner's grandmother will have meals with the family within the principal dwelling. Next slide, please. The applicant is seeking relief from the provisions of the general zoning bylaw to construct a habitable living space within an accessory building. The variance being requested is to permit habitable living space within an accessory building, whereas the general zoning bylaw does not permit habitable living space within an accessory building. The criteria when reviewing minor variance applications as set out by Section 45 of the Planning Act include the following 4 tests. If the variance is minor, if the variance is desirable, if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and if the variance is in keeping with the intent and purpose of the official plan. No comments or concerns have been received from any members of the public. As of recent this afternoon, there was 1 piece of correspondence that was received from the property owner immediately west of the subject property located at 162 Hilltop. The homeowner simply stated that they have no objections or concerns with the application. There have also been no objections received from the region of Waterloo, Waterloo Catholic District School Board, GRCA, or the Engineering and Public Works Department. Staff will be considering matters for a future recommendation report to the committee, including all comments and correspondence received, that the proposed variance meets the criteria of the 4 tests as set out by Section 45 of the Planning Act, whether development conforms to the official plan, whether the general intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained, and to ensure that the size and height of the proposed accessory building does not negatively impact the surrounding area, and if the accessory building is out of character with similar homes in the surrounding neighborhood. Next slide. The recommendation of staff to committee is that all comments and correspondence received from members of the public and government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And I believe Rebecca McBride would like to speak. Is Rebecca, there you are. Go ahead.
I don't actually have anything to add. This is all new to me. So I just appreciate everyone putting in the time and effort and the help I've received from Christina and those at the township office to get this application in. And hopefully we're able to go forward.
Thank you. Is there any members of the public that wish to speak on this? Seeing no one, councillors, any questions or comments? Once again, seeing no one, can I have the motion, please? And it will be read in its entirety.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Move by myself, second by Councillor Gillespie, that the adjustment receives P report number 26-2022, and that all information received through the public meeting process be returned to staff for further consideration in a future report on the petition of minor variance application A-0522.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Can we have the next motion, please? The adjournment of Committee of Adjustment.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rowland that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meeting of the Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 8:10 p.m. and the council meeting be called back to order.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. You're almost up. 8.1 public meeting report number PD-29-2022. Proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 1107 Cedar Creek Road, file number ZC-06/21. Notice was given to those in accordance with the Planning Act. The clerk will report everyone who has commented on this application, attended and or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. I'd like to now introduce Shahid Magal, Township Planner, who will be presenting this application. Shahid, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I will be presenting the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application file number ZC-06/21 for the 1107 Cedar Creek Road. So the purpose of this meeting is to provide an overview of the proposed development and solicit comment from the member of public, government agencies, and stakeholder. The key purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application is to rezone the property from zone Z1 agriculture to zone Z4 mineral aggregate extraction. As you can see on the map, the subject property is located south side of the Cedar Creek Road and west of the city of Cambridge boundary. As you can see on the map, the entire property is 74 hectare in size. The western portion of the property where existing dance pit is located, which is 45 hectare, which is 111.19 acres. And the eastern side of the property, which is subject to the zoning bylaw amendment application and adjacent to the city of Cambridge. The total area of the proposed site for the aggregate pit is 29 hectare. And the proposed extraction area, basically the proposed dance pit area for aggregate ARA license, under ARA license 29 hectare, but the proposed area is for 20.8 hectare, which is 49.42 acres. As you can see in the map, the surrounding land uses are residential, aggregate pits, and agriculture in nature. To the east, you can see the residential area, which is located within the city of Cambridge. The northern portion of the north side of the property is agriculture. The western portion is existing dance pit, and the southern side of the property is consists of the Cambridge aggregate pit. The applicant submitted the technical reports and plan in support of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, which include the planning justification report, agriculture impact assessment, archaeological assessment phase 1 and 2, and they also submitted the existing features plan, operation plan, which is like a phase plan, and also rehabilitation plan as well. They also submitted the maximum water table report and natural environment report, noise impact assessment report, air quality impact assessment, and also source water production screening form. These technical studies are currently under review by government agencies and also internal department as well. Staff reviewed the provincial policy statement and the growth plan, which are the provincial document. So basically, both document allow the aggregate pit within a agriculture area, provided that the subject site or the proposed development site would be rehabilitated back to the agriculture use. When we see the regional official plan, that's also permit the aggregate pit in a agriculture area, and they also required the applicant need to submit the report to address the issues of noise, dust, vibration, environmental impact assessment, and hydrogeological report and archaeological assessment. So following this policy of the regional official plan, the applicant submitted these technical reports and plan as well. As you can see in the map 8 of the township official plan, the subject property designated as a mineral aggregate resources within a mineral aggregate resources area, and the policy 5.2.1.1 of the township official plan state the mineral aggregate extraction may be permitted in a mineral aggregate resources area, which you can see on the map, as demonstrated to the satisfaction of province, township, region, and subject to the policies of this plan. So basically, the key thing is the policies permit the aggregate pits in an agriculture area, but subject to the condition that will be rehabilitated back to the agriculture use as well. And also there are also other relevant policies as well. As I mentioned, the subject property is currently zoned as Zone 1 agriculture, and the applicant submitted the application to propose Z1 to Z14 mineral aggregate. And I also mentioned that the property is also Zone 1 agriculture with exemption 20.1.76, which allow rental campers, tent, and camping equipment as well. So the applicant proposing to rezone the property for Zone 1 to Zone 14 mineral aggregate. Just to give you some overview of the proposed development, as you can see on the proposed zoning concept, the proposed pit will operate as an expansion to the existing Cbm pit. You can see on the map, which is the western portion of the property. And there won't be any annual increase in tonnage. As you can see, the proposed annual tonnage of aggregate extraction across the entire property is to be maintained 750,000 tons. As I also mentioned before, the proposed pit has under the ARL license has 29 hectare, and the proposed extraction area will be 20.8 hectare. So the applicant also proposed 60-meter setback from the western property of the city of Cambridge to address the impact of that noise, vibration, and dust as well. The applicant mentioned that the proposed hours of operation for the dance pit expansion will be 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, with no operation on the weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, and there won't be any operation on the civic holidays as well. So in response to the public consultation, staff also installed the property notice sign on the property. We also circulated the notice of public meeting to adjacent property owner. The information also posted on the township website. In response to this circulation of the notice of public meeting, the staff received approximately 113 letters from the member of public in opposition of this proposed development. So the key concern of the member of public was regarding the dust, air quality, noise, and it will diminish the property value, visual impact due to abutting to the residential neighborhood. As I mentioned, the subject property is adjacent to the city of Cambridge, and also safety, vibration, traffic. And they also expressed their concern regarding emotional distress, mental health issues for the people in the community as well. So staff also circulated a submission package to the agencies. The region of Waterloo expressed that the studies are currently under review, and the environmental impact assessment, noise study, air quality, and agricultural impact assessment are subject to the peer review. So that studies are currently under review. The comments will be included in the next report to the council. Similarly, the city of Cambridge also reviewing the submission package or the technical studies, and the detailed comment will be included in the next report to the council. But there are a few key comments which I can share with you. The city of Cambridge required the peer review of the technical studies, which I also mentioned. The technical studies are currently under review and also subject to the peer review as well. And they also required the more information regarding current condition of the tree screening, which include the quality, width, and height for the screening purposes. They also mentioned provided some comment regarding rehabilitation. Basically, the proposed aggregate pit consists of 3 phases: phase 1, 2, and 3. So the city of Cambridge, they mentioned once the phase, for example, phase 1 completed and rehabilitated back to agriculture, then they can go to the next phase. The city of Cambridge also mentioned that the applicant also considered that incorporating community benefits such as green space, access for public use as part of the rehabilitation of the site. Grand Bridge Energy expressed no objection to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment of dance pit expansion. Grand River Conservation Authority expressed they are not in a position to recommend approval of ZBA or Aggregate Resources Act application. Basically, they found some concern or comments regarding national heritage comments. So they required the applicant owner need to address that comments, and then they will provide the detailed comments as well. As the property is located within 80 meters of the provincial significant Gilhorn Salisbury wetland complex. Waterloo Catholic District School Board, they expressed no comments or concern. So staff, in consideration of the future report to the council on the merit of the application, will be considering all comments and concern received during consideration process, the effect of the proposed development on provincial interest matter, whether the proposed development is conform with the township official plan or regional official plan, and also provincial statutory documents as well. Staff will also consider whether the proposed development is desirable, compatible with the adjacent properties or land uses as well, and maintain the character of the area. Staff will also review the traffic circulation and point of ingress and egress to the proposed pit. So basically, the proposed pit will also use the existing access, which is used for the existing dance pit. So there won't be any proposing new access to the property. And staff will also review the cumulative impact of the additional aggregate operation in the area as well. With regard to rehabilitation of the site, staff will also review how the applicant or owner will address that the proposed development, or once it's the aggregate license rescinded, how they will rehabilitate back to the agriculture use as well. And we also confirm the groundwater hydrology during the operation of the pit does not negatively impact base flow condition to adjacent wetland, water course, or other natural area and woodland, or adjacent private well of rural residences and agriculture operation as well. So the applicant mentioned that they're proposing the proposed dance pit expansion above 1.5 meter water table. Staff will also consider integration and coordination of activities between the existing and the proposed pit as well, and potential impact of noise, dust, vibration, and how it will impact the neighboring residential properties as well. And the final one, the staff will also evaluate the relevance and applicability of the 1983 Development Agreement and 1999 Amendment to advancement of the proposed zone change application and the associated aggregate resources license request as well. So the staff recommendation of the staff recommendation to the council is that all the comments and correspondence received from the member of public and the government agencies through consultation process be returned to staff for future report to council on disposition of this matter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Shahid. And I believe next up will be Melanie Horton. Do we have Melanie? Oh, go ahead, Melanie, you have 5 minutes.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Foxton, members of council, staff, and members of the public that are in attendance. My name is Melanie Horton. I'm with Escher Planning Incorporated. I'm the planner for this application. Joining me virtually this evening are David Hanratty. He's the North American Director of Land and Resources for Votorantim, which is Cbm Aggregates, as well as Heather Melcher from WSP Golder Associates. And in person this evening, I believe, at the Township Office, Steve May, who's the Land and Resources Manager for Southwestern Ontario for Cbm Aggregates. I know we have a lot of people in the audience this evening that would like to make comments, so I'll make mine brief. I just do have a presentation here. I'll just mention, I know the township has the reports for this application posted on the website. CBM also has set up a project website, www.cbmdancepit.ca. So there's a lot of information there, all of the reports and some presentation materials. So I'd encourage people to, if they haven't already looked at that site, to check that out. Briefly, CBM, sorry?
Could you state that website again for some people that were writing it down?
Yes, it's www.cbmdancepit.ca.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So CBM Aggregates, I think you may be familiar and seen the trucks in the community. They're part of St. Mary's Cement, which is one of the leading suppliers in Ontario of construction materials. CBM is an industry leader in safety, in their record of safety and environmental performance and sustainability. And they've been operating in North Dumfries in the township for just over 30 years. Shahid has done a very good job of giving a detailed overview of the application, so I won't repeat much of what he's said. Just a couple of brief points to emphasize. This is, as Shahid mentioned, this is an above the groundwater table site, so no below water extraction, and the area will be rehabilitated back to an agricultural use. And then, as he mentioned, the setback along the eastern limit of the site is proposed at 60 meters or 200 feet, and that's double the regulatory setback requirement, and that's CBM's sort of proactive measure to increase the protection from noise and dust from the operations. This slide just shows the consultation that's completed to date, and there's a lot of dates you can see here starting back in the fall of 2016. So the news, I guess, of the application has been in the community for a number of years. Just a couple of points I want to make here. I think I've been in this field for close to 30 years now, and I think this is probably the most extensive pre-consultation and consultation with the public that I've seen an applicant undertake. So I think that's it's a good indication that CBM is serious about hearing the concerns from the community and trying to revise the application to ensure that they can address concerns as best possible. The ARA application, Aggregate Resources application, was submitted last year. There was an information session. The information is on the website that I mentioned. And for that application, there were close to 60 letters of objection received. I know there were many more received as part of the municipal review. So we're currently sort of in the midst of looking at the concerns, reviewing the concerns, and we'll be turning our efforts to responding to concerns over the coming months.
1 minute left.
1 minute, okay. Shahid mentioned the concerns, so I'm gonna skip through these slides. We will make them available on the website if anybody would like to review them in detail. So a couple things just quickly to mention. Far and away, I think the biggest concerns that we've heard are in relation to dust and air quality and noise. So as mentioned, there is a study that's been done that indicates that with the berms and tree screen in place and the production plant where it is, the site will maintain the regulatory limits set by the province. It's important, I think, to recognize that that study is being peer reviewed, and it's also being reviewed by the province. So I know there are a number of technical questions that came from some of the members in the community. So it is something that we're looking at very closely, and we'll be taking time to respond to those concerns. Similarly for noise, again.
Thank you. 5 minutes is up. Thank you very much.
Okay.
She should be on, I believe.
Cynthia, do we have Pam Wolf available?
She's just moving all the virtual people into the meeting right now.
So we'll go down to the North Dumfries Conservation Alliance.
Pam Wolf is available.
Oh, sorry, do you mind waiting on Pam? Okay, can we let Pam come on, please?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Pam, you have 5 minutes.
All right. Good evening. My name is Pam Wolf, and I'm the Ward 5 Councillor for the City of Cambridge. It is with utmost respect that I speak to you, Mayor Foxton, and the North Dumfries the North Dumfries Council tonight. Sorry about that. I'm very concerned about the application to expand the existing aggregate operation known as the Dance Pit. This expansion will greatly affect the health and quality of life for my constituents. The new pit will come within 60 meters from the backyards of many of my residents. This is a well-established residential neighborhood with many children, schools, and 2 nursing homes. As you have heard from many delegates tonight, or you will hear, they are concerned about the dust, noise, and vibration they already experience from the existing pit. Having the pit move that much closer to their homes is going to make this situation worse. I have received several complaints over the years about dust, noise, and the early and late night operation of the pit. This has caused much stress and anxiety. My residents are concerned about air quality and the effect of silica in the lungs. They worry about their children and seniors who live in their neighborhood. The Cambridge City Council has passed 2 motions opposing the expansion of the Dance Pit. In November 2021, we passed a motion which, after many paragraphs of whereases, and since I only have 5 minutes, I can't read it, but basically stated, therefore be it resolved that the city clerk be directed to send correspondence on behalf of the City of Cambridge Council to the Ministry of Northern Development, Mines, Natural Resources and Forestry, objecting to the Aggregate Resource Act application for the expansion and in support of the residents, and requesting that Cbm Aggregates honor the deed to that parcel of land and keep it agricultural use only and not grant CBM's application for license. I can start the video. This spring, we passed a motion asking the provincial government to enact a temporary moratorium on the new aggregate pits or expansion of existing pits. We joined North Dumfries and other Ontario councils in making this request. We understand that the MNRF needs stronger regulations to protect our citizens from the adverse effects of the aggregate extraction industry, and local governments need more power to ensure regulations to protect the environment and health of our citizens. We hope the provincial government listens to the many councils who have requested these changes. The City of Cambridge Planning Department has requested that an independent peer review of the air and noise quality impact assessments for the CBM dance pit be carried out by external technical experts at the expense of the applicant. We would also like to know why there were no vibrational impact studies done. Residents and staff are also concerned about the condition and effectiveness of the tree screen planted in 2018 and 2019 along the eastern site boundary, 10 meters from residents' backyards. According to the residents' reports, it is ineffective against the dust carried by strong northwest winds.
Last minute, ma'am.
Okay. And you've already heard that we, our staff want the pits rehabilitated before they start the next one, and recommend that in addition to the restoration of agricultural use, the applicant also considers green space and access for public use. I realize this is a very difficult decision for North Dumfries Council. We know the aggregate industry is needed and very powerful. In Ontario, the rules are skewed in their favor, not in ours. I urge Council to consider the adverse effects these will have on our residents and the fact that the province should be putting a pause on new pits and expansions, as this council and mine have asked them to do. Not one pit in North Dumfries is closed, and a need for the expansion has not been demonstrated. Please have the courage to reject this application. Thank you.
Before you go, you asked a couple of questions in the pits and the different studies. Could we ask them, have them answered now? Could you ask them again? The vibration study wasn't done? Was that one of them that you stated?
Yes, that's what our staff had stated.
Do we have an answer from Steve? Can you answer that?
Can David take that one?
Sure, David, are you available to take that?
Mayor Foxton, can you repeat what your question was?
I believe Councillor stated that a vibration study wasn't done. Was a vibration study done?
Yeah, we took vibration measurements as a result of inquiries from the public. This is not a blasting quarry, which is typically where you would see a blasting and vibration report being completed. But we took vibration measurements, and those measurements showed very clearly that vibration dissipated from the plant within meters, and it did not travel very far. So, you know, we followed up with what the public wanted us to do, and we did do that, but it wasn't deserving of a full report, but we can certainly provide the measurements.
Councillor Wolf, I know your time is tight. Could you please present your notes to the pit for them to respond back to you?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Now we have the North Dumfries Conservation Alliance.
So it is on the desktop. Sorry, it's on the desktop. One of these.
Does Cynthia have it? If you start now, you get longer than 5 minutes to actually down there.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor Foxton, council, staff, and members of the community. We represent the North Dumfries Conservation Alliance, a newly developed or newly organized organization that represents the growing number of concerned citizens of the township of North Dumfries. We share a common goal for the protection, conservation, and preservation of our significant natural environment and our prime farmlands. We are in objection to the zoning bylaw amendment, and we would like that on the record. We actually collectively are the stewards of more than 1,400 acres of the lands of North Dumfries Township. Lands that lie within one of the most important ecosystems and sensitive natural areas of the province of Ontario, the Paris Gulf Moraine. Within these environmentally significant and sensitive lands, we hold the Dryden Tract, the Alps Woods Forest, the Sudden Tract, the Sudden Forest, the Sudden Bog, the rare Carolinian forests, significant wetlands, rare flora and fauna, rare and endangered species, birds and wildlife, and once surrounded by hundreds of acres of prime farmlands. All are now increasingly at risk. There is no denying the imminent risk we face. It is our collective responsibility to take action now. With this in mind, our elected council of North Dumfries identified the following goals that are included within the North Dumfries Township official plan. And an official plan is a legally binding document. It has been approved and adopted by North Dumfries Township Council, the region of Waterloo, and it has been endorsed by this community.
So with that plan in mind, we'd like to remind you that goal number 2 is to preserve, protect, and encourage the continued use of prime agricultural areas for agricultural purposes. Goal number 3 of that same plan is to protect, conserve, or wherever feasible, enhance the natural environment. And probably most importantly, goal number 5, to provide the management of natural resources within the township in a manner that minimizes undesirable short and long-term impacts on the natural environment, quality and the quantity of ground and surface water, and the quality of life for existing and future residents.
So the map that you see in front of you are the mineral aggregate resource areas in the township of North Dumfries. And in the next map, you see the Greenlands network. The darker green areas show the environmentally sensitive areas. So notice that the aggregate resource areas overlap greatly with the environmental sensitive areas. This map shows the active pits in the township of North Dumfries. They have displaced approximately 5,000 acres of prime agricultural land. And notice the rural block that's between Cedar Creek and Alps Road. It's almost completely covered by active gravel pits. And additionally, this map does not include any new anticipated pits, including the amendment for the dance pit that we are here to propose today.
So if common sense prevails and our concerns for human health and our survival and our future generations, food, water, and air, that's what we all care about, our significant natural environment and the function of the aquifers that filter our water source are threatened by the current overzealous practice and cumulative negative impacts of the current aggregate extraction in North Dumfries. With 5,000 acres of our land already under aggregate mining, current new applications or pre-applications represent an additional loss of 400 acres or more if approved. This includes the dance pit expansion application.
Hold on a minute.
One more minute, okay. So before you then, we ask that the council consider this zoning bylaw amendment and refuse it. It is most important that you recognize the number of citizens of this township that are aware of the concerns, are actually living in this community and dealing with these concerns on a regular basis. And we know the number of pits, the cumulative effect is only going to increase the concerns of this community. We thank you for your consideration. It is in fact your right and your responsibility as our council to refuse this application. Thank you.
Painful applause. We know you all want to support it. And I think that's great. It's taking up more time for the next speakers. So next is the National Farmers Union.
Somebody else has the slide. And then the that's it. Thank you. I think it's better. Okay. Okay, well, good evening, Madam Mayor, councillors, staff, and all participants. I celebrate that we are all together in this conversation, and I'm particularly thankful to be following the group that just presented. There will be some repetition. I will try not to go over that too much, but my name is Ann Ehrlich. I'm presenting on behalf of the National Farmers Union. We're also a farm family just actually south of you, and I've been quite involved in the past on some of the concerns raised around the health and sustainability of our Gulf Paris moraine, and in particular the risks to our water and health. Our concerns about sustainable development have been part of our life on our farm, as well as my work in public health in Canada and in countries beyond our borders, where 1 acre of land is a precious resource to sustain families and communities. And I think we have to kind of reconsider that we are in a global and a local framework to analyze all of this. So I thank you for inviting us to participate in the important considerations to expand the dance pit. As we understand, it is an expansion on prime farmland in North Dumfries, which is one of the top aggregate producing municipalities. And we know the important resources and many resources you've already shared. The expansion, albeit not large at 29 hectares, as I hear, from some people's perspective, it still begs critical decisions as food security and global sustainability is growing more fragile. I was very fortunate to work with student intern from McMaster University in 2020 to look at the location of prime farmland in Ontario and aggregate extraction sites. So this mirrors a little bit of what you just heard in the last presentation. And as you'll see in this slide, North Dumfries is one of the most heavily, well, this area, as you'll see with the green area, is all the prime farmland in southwestern Ontario. And the most of the prime farmland, meaning class 1 to 3, is located particularly around this area. And that's where we see what you'll see now in slide 3, the next slide. Those dark brown areas are those areas in the Greater Golden Horseshoe that are most heavily impacted by aggregate extraction. And North Dumfries is actually one of the heaviest, or experienced the heaviest impact. At greater than 80% of aggregate extraction is on prime farmland. So what we're seeing is that
that the findings that we have are consistent with many other groups, where we're seeing that 175 acres of farmland is lost every day in Ontario to non-agricultural land uses. And that has been raising concerns, as we just heard, where people consider that, or our proponents often reinforce what we've heard today too, that the farmland will be rehabilitated back to its original food production. And there is no evidence of this. And if you talk to many farmers and you speak to the industry, the evidence is not there. And we ask you to continue to provide that evidence when you're going through these debates, because we're looking for scientific evidence. I've worked public health. We look at evidence-based practice. I ask you to do the same in your decision making. The importance of our prime farmland in terms of strengthening Ontario's food system is listed there, and you know it well. It's both economic. Yeah, it's economic as well as environmental, and I'll just leave these slides with you and carry on. It's again an important consideration when we look back to 2011, when Peace River already looked at aggregate as a finite resource. Carry on. And globally right now in 2019, they're saying again, this is a finite resource. Let's think about how we deal with it internationally and the impact it has on our sustainability. And then I'll carry on with the last, carry on. Next slide. Next slide. Again, we're asking you to consider really the long-term effects and the risks to groundwater and health as you consider this application further. Next. These are another long list of ways to consider the moratorium that we just heard about with the last presentation, and considering sustainability committees to look at evidence collectively to consider this fit, and supports the unanimous decision by your council to oppose this application. And that's the voice of the National Farmers Union. I thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. You know what? If you could send that slide presentation to the Minister of Agriculture, as well as the Minister of Natural Resources and Forests, and the same with you guys, because that's who's going to fight us on this. Those two ministries, and if they see this, also you all need to know that we had the head of the Farming Association and the head of farming in Ontario come and speak to us on the new rock. And Council McCreary asked them point blankly, can aggregate pits be returned to its original state of farming? And he said, no, it cannot happen. You can get some lower grade farming, but you will never bring back the prime. But thank you both very much. And it's important that you share those slide presentations.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say, in fact, the OFA and NFU are together on that. Yeah.
Okay, next is Bruce and Nancy Hunter.
Thank you, Madam. You stole a bit of my thunder there, but greetings. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak in opposition to this proposed amendment, allowing for the expansion of the dance pit. My name is Bruce F.C. Hunter. I presently do not reside in the immediate vicinity, but my son lives on Sullivan Crescent, and due to his generous nature, I expect that I will be joining him and living with him in a very short time. Correct? I hope that I'm preaching to the converted, and if not, maybe soon to be converted. I am sure you will be inundated with statistics, studies, reports, etc., containing an overwhelming amount of data. I would like to narrow the focus of my remarks to the issue of food security. It's been covered already, but I'll be very quick. Food systems must be protected so that all people at all times have access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. Such an outcome requires the protection and preservation of arable farmland. Can we afford to lose any additional farmland? I emphatically suggest we cannot. I look at that picture behind the council, and I look at that idyllic pastoral scene, and I wonder what those pioneers would think if they were here tonight. Let me relate a personal perspective. I was born on a farm and raised on a farm. I farmed until I retired, but I was born on a farm in Puswich Township. Our farm was located on the Wellington-Waterloo town line. Now, my farm was on the poor side, the Wellington side. Our farm lost in 1957, 1958, lost 2/5 of its land mass to Highway 401. In addition to that, my neighbors that I grew up with, the Herman farm, the Jameson farm, the Gunn farm, the Hemp farm, the Robinson farm, and I could go on, are all gone. They no longer exist. You now have Holiday Inns, churches, recreation centers, etc. That's over 1,000 acres of the very best land that God put on the face of this earth. And it's gone, and you'll never get it back. Proponents of the amendment will testify that the degraded land will be rehabilitated to its original condition. If you believe this is possible, then I have a wonderful bridge that I'd like to sell to you. It's impossible. Show me a rehabilitated aggregate site where the corn is as high as the 1st of July up to your knee, and I'll buy the argument, but you can't do that. As an addendum, the area north of the existing pit has been rehabilitated and is yet to grow an agricultural crop. Enough is enough. No more loss of farmland. The preservation and protection of non-replaceable arable land must become an uncompromising line in the sand, or should I say, a line in the gravel. Thank you very much.
And under time as well, very well done. Next is Matt and Emma Hunter.
We registered separately.
Okay.
not Together. I'll stand with you.
Oh, Emma, it's okay, I don't fight.
All right. Well, I've never done this either. Just want to say, have the utmost respect for the council and the mayor here that I'm speaking to tonight. Consider this more of an op-ed toward the Aggregate company. Melanie, Stephen, and David speaking to you tonight. Not proclaiming to be an expert in air quality impact studies. However, I did have the opportunity to review this one. Amazing that we can just throw enough money at a consulting firm until we get the results we want. If you lived where I live, you would know this is extremely flawed. Please, you're invited to come stay a few days. History is full of examples of twisting and manipulating data until it suits the cause of the greediest. Where are the impact reports on densification of aggregate mining near our urban centers? Where's the data on that? There are none because history is written by the victors. Some interesting data from the 2019 Ontario Aggregate Resources Corporation. I believe they're your buddies. Ottawa, first for total aggregate extracted. Kawartha Lakes, number 2. Hamilton, 3rd. Burlington, Halton Hills, 4th. North Dumfries, Dumfries, 5th. But when you look at total metric tons per square kilometer, North Dumfries is number 1 in Ontario at almost 2.5 times metric tons pulled out of the ground per kilometer squared. Where are the studies on the densification? We extract more aggregate per kilometer squared than any other jurisdiction in Ontario. Why is there no intent? We are so intent on the need to concentrate further. Why? Let's pat ourselves on the back for this amazing accomplishment. Did I mention we ship all the profits off overseas to the parent company conglomerate located in Brazil? Q1 profits, $6 billion. Amazing work, everyone. Congratulations, we did it. Where are the impact reports on childhood lung disease cross-referenced against provincial or national averages? Are those on shelves somewhere that we don't know about? Many studies from around the world are around open pit mining of aggregate contract air quality impact reports. It's amusing that some of the research materials referenced go back decades, 70s, 80s, 90s. They come from many other jurisdictions from around North America. Bravo. Pick and choose until you meet the criteria. Other than North Dumfries, please provide long-term impact assessments of urban areas within 1 to 200 feet of aggregate mining. We really do not have any real empirical data about long-term urban exposure to crystalline silica. This would appear to have similar merit as tobacco, claiming it does not cause lung cancer. Oxycodone is not addictive. Asbestos is a fine insulator for our homes. So if you set a precedent here, be prepared to have that on your conscience. How can we proceed without a proper peer review of this data, properly funded, reviewed by experts in the scientific field required for this type of study? No, I can't afford that. I'm sure your consultants have all the answers to satisfy your greed. However, I still want to speak aloud about some facts. Crystalline silica is a known carcinogen It's linked to lung cancer, heart disease, and rheumatoid arthritis. Want to avoid it outside? Well, it permeates your home through your heating and cooling systems, so nowhere to hide. Particulate at 10 microns or less can have the impact, this impact. Never mind your studies talk about 2.5 microns, even scarier. Why would we knowingly even add this to the total suspended matter of our current air we breathe? Other than the greed, what is your business case? This dust is so light, it stays airborne for days and weeks. It can travel for very long distances. We are already less than 400 meters from where I live from the extraction operations. There are studies that suggest being within 750 meters is unhealthy. So we have already met you more than halfway. The air quality impact study references 2 pits and took a baseline background air analysis from Kitchener, not Cambridge or North Dumfries, to plug it into your formula. Brilliant. Use the data that suits you best, perhaps. Slow clap, anyone? You know, there are 15 gravel pits within 5 kilometers upwind with that predominant wind that is north-northwest, approximately 80% or more of the time annually, already blowing right across our neighborhood. Where are the cumulative impact studies on that? The World Health Organization states that there is no safe level that can be established for dust. So why would we accept your acceptable levels? Areas that will see higher levels of dust and deteriorating air quality include Southwood Secondary School, community pool, 4 public parks, 2 long-term seniors care homes. Where's Doug Ford on that one? Thought we stood by our seniors and hardworking citizens of this province. I call on him to put an end to this nonsense. This is not a not in my backyard issue. This is a not in anybody's backyard issue. Thank you.
Oh, Emma.
Oh, Emma's gonna go up.
Emma was.
Okay, go ahead. Emma.
Am I allowed to read?
Yes, go ahead.
I am Emma Hunter, 9 years old. I live at 23 Sullivan Court, the area where you're putting the new gravel pit. Well, want to put the new gravel pit.
Don't say it too serious.
I have many reasons why you shouldn't do this. First of all, it will affect not one, but many families. Even people who aren't going to be as close as I will be. This is because the area you will be destroying is farmland. And by that, I mean you're destroying one of our food sources. Second, the dust comes from the gravel pit can make you very sick. Yeah, I said very sick. That would mean that during the time of the gravel pit,
Too serious.
you can still read it for you. That would mean
that during the time of the gravel pit being here, many people, young and old, would become sick. And I wouldn't want to get sick or worse, die from a gravel pit being here. I don't want to have to stay inside all the time. I want to be outside, breathing fresh air. Do you know that there are already 15 gravel pits in the area where I live? This one will be so close to me, 100 feet, I think. My sister's bedroom looks at the beautiful farmland that will be spoiled by the gravel. She won't be able to open her window because of the noise and dust. Third, the noise. Having the gravel pit right behind you would be loud, very loud. All the trucks coming and going and the machines singing. It could cause hearing damage and make it almost impossible to sleep. For some people. I know that there are a lot of police and firefighters in my area, and they have to sleep during the day sometimes because they work at night. Just imagine the other cities and the mayors figured out what you did to your citizens and got upset. Even if they don't get upset, I will. I don't want a gravel pit built behind my house. Find another place to put it. Anywhere far away from people's homes. Even if you're still destroying farmland, who cares? I don't want people to get sick because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to stay inside all the time. I don't want a gravel pit here, and there won't be a gravel pit here. Whatever your business for building roads is doesn't matter. You understand what could happen if you build that gravel pit? I'm not saying you're not allowed to do this. I'm saying that if you do, I might as well hide under my bed for the rest of my life and starve. I'm saying thank you if you don't, and screaming if you do. It's your choice, not mine.
Virtual people get to see the top of my head.
It's okay, I'm that same height whether you're sitting or standing.
Good evening, Mayor Foxton and councillors. I'm Sherry Roberts. I appreciate you giving us all the time tonight to share our concerns with you. This proposed new gravel pit is problematic to the nearby residents of Cambridge for many reasons. Personally, I'm very concerned with the health ramifications. We've heard a lot of what's going on. With all residents, especially our growing and developing children, along with anyone with breathing issues and seniors. In the area of our neighborhood that would be affected, we have many childcare centers, we have 2 schools, 2 long-term care facilities, and 3 group homes for people with disabilities. I cannot actually think of a worse place to put a gravel pit than in our neighborhood. We've heard from Cbm that their pits are, quote unquote, safe. Maybe each pit independently is safe, but a thorough assessment needs to be done of the air quality, of the cumulative effect of the 15 pits that are around our neighborhood already. We already deal with an incredible amount of dust from the pits that are operated nearby, and the amount that we would have to contend with if this new pit is allowed to open would be literally unbearable. Over and above the potential health concerns, I'm gravely worried about the effects that this new pit will have on our property values. Currently, the residents of Delvan and Harwood have a lovely view of a flourishing farm field. That is if you don't look too far beyond to spot the already existing pits just beyond the farm field, but I digress. This view would be utterly destroyed. No remediation will ever get it back to the state it is in currently. And as we heard, no real farmland will ever exist there the way it does right now. Who would want to purchase their home when their backyard is literally an active gravel pit? And they're going to be woken up at 7 a.m. weekday to the sound of grinding. I live a number of blocks away from the current pits, and I already hear it in my backyard. 7 a.m., bright and early, you hear it grinding away every single day. Not to mention the safety issues around the number of gravel hauling trucks that are on Cedar Street. If this new pit is allowed to open, how many more of our windshields will be literally smashed by flying gravel? I've talked to so many neighbors. How many people here have had their, thank you, smashed by flying gravel rocks flying off the trucks coming out of the pits? And for some reason, they decided to put the driveway at the bottom of both the hill on one side and a hill on the other side. So the trucks come out going 10 kilometers an hour and the gravel is flying and smashing into our vehicles. I've also almost been hit head on a couple of times by people trying to pass the truck. So there's many dangers. I've worked very hard as a single mom to maintain my home. I have a pride of ownership of my property. I've worked to improve my neighborhood through many community improvement projects. I've worked with our neighbors to make our community beautiful and a place where we can really be proud to live. And I feel as though the voices of these residents here who are literally poured their life savings into their homes is being ignored. How can anyone in good conscience take away not only the enjoyment of our homes that we currently have, but our future prosperity and financial stability? And I just want to say that tonight's been a real eye-opener to really the care and compassion that you all take to the residents in your community. We're talking about things like putting gazebos on homes and the importance of extending garages and stuff and how much time you're taking to talk about things like that. I hope that you take the same amount of time when you think about the fact that we're literally going to have a gravel pit in our backyard. Thank you so much for your time.
Government holding, what's that?
All right, my name is Devin Sisek, and this is my son Holden. Never addressed council before, so I'm here today because I fear the ramifications from this proposed expansion. I'm here to be the voice for those like my son who will be significantly impacted by having a gravel pit moved within 100 feet of their homes. The people who you took on the duty to represent when you were elected and need your support most. As you can see, my son loves baseball and the Blue Jays. So let's start this by putting some perspective on what the distance of 100 feet looks like. The distance between first and third base is 127 feet, 27 feet longer than the proposed start of the density expansion. Shocking, right? Because most of us here have seen the game and how effortlessly a player can throw a ball that distance. This really will be a stone's throw away from people's houses. My son has special needs. His lungs are weaker than the average child. He doesn't let that stop him, although we've had some hospitalization scares due to pneumonia. He plays sledge hockey in the winter and baseball in 2 different leagues in the summer. However, there are limits on what he can access physically because of his difficulty. This is why we find ourselves being active in our neighborhood and at our home, places that are easily accessible to him. He loves to play basketball in the driveway, hit baseballs in the backyard, eat outside, watch the group of blue jays we have in our yard. He's named them after Bo, Vlad, Kirk, and Springer. We set a TV up on the back deck so we can sit out and watch the game together. These things will be taken from him if the expansion is approved. There are 3 group homes for people with disabilities on the street adjacent to us. You see the residents out walking, taking in the beautiful place we live. What will happen to their quality of life? They are forced to breathe dust all day. What about the seniors who work their whole lives to finally relax and enjoy life? Who built these neighborhoods by seeing the beauty and potential in the area and moving their families there? There is an elderly man who walks in our neighborhood. He always takes a break on his walker across the street from my home. Are we going to trap him and his home to wither away because of this expansion? My son's lucky enough to still have a spry 85-year-old great-grandmother who likes to take him for walks and play outside. A woman who told me one day that she never thought she'd be fortunate enough to have a great-grandchild. She's now enjoying her 10th year. Are we going to force their relationship to only exist indoors because neither of their lungs can handle the dust that it's going to create? Why am I so concerned about these people in the dust? Let me tell you why. Breathing in dust from silica containing materials, for example, stone, rock, sand, gravel, clay, can lead to silicosis. Silica dust particles become trapped in the lung tissue, causing inflammation and scarring. Particles also reduce the lung's capacity to take in oxygen. Silicosis results in permanent lung damage and is progressive and debilitating disease. Silicosis can develop or progress even after the exposure is stopped. They might say they're only going to work from 7 till 6, but the silica dust will be in our homes and neighborhood 24/7. The dust doesn't stop when they stop. These people have taken their money and run. Vulnerable people, my neighbors, they left to pay the price and suffer the effects. Some of those effects, lung cancer, COPD, which many of seniors already suffering from, will have to worry about it getting worse by this. Kidney disease, I already take them every 6 months to get his kidneys checked. I don't need this on top of that. Autoimmune diseases. And there's no cure for silicosis. The damage cannot be reversed. If you're on a work site, people need to wear PPE to protect themselves from silica dust.
1 more minute.
So why are we going to allow our neighbors to be exposed to this? And don't feed me the acceptable limits line either. Silicosis is a disease from exposure. The smallest exposure over time has the same effects. And I'm going to leave you with this. When you decide on what to do, I want you to think of Holden. I want you to think of the vulnerable people who need you to stand up for them. This aggregate company doesn't care about the people like Holden, or they wouldn't be forcing this up against their properties. There's no reason for a gravel pit to be right against someone's home. This is not the last gravel deposit in the world. I want you to be prepared to tell Holden that money in your pocket is worth more than his quality of life.
Madam Mayor, councilors, city staff, and members of the public. My name is Tracy Bartlett, and I live on Delavan Drive in Cambridge. My property backs onto the proposed Vancouver expansion line. I am here tonight to express my concerns about the proposed expansion and to formally state that I am wholeheartedly against CBM's application for license to expand their operation. With the current location of the pit, we experience many adverse effects from the pit that are harmful to our health and well-being daily from Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., the current operating hours for the pit. The noise from the existing location is very loud and makes it difficult for us to be in our yards. CBM defends themselves by saying the noise is coming from the Hanson pit, which is adjacent to the CBM pit. Those of us who back onto this field can tell where the noise is coming from, and it is not always from the Hanson pit. And yes, the cumulative effect of the noise from both pits in our backyards is really bad. Most mornings we were woken up with noise coming from the pit prior to the 7 a.m. start time, and this is with the windows closed. We know we cannot have the windows open at night to let fresh air in unless we will be awake early enough to close them in the morning before the noise starts. Neighbors that work night shift cannot sleep during the day because of the noise. Some of us experience vibration and exist from the existing pit where the glasses in our cupboards will shake and rattle. The dust in the air that comes from the pit and the road leading into the pit area is horrible. Those of us that back onto the field experience a lot of dust and dirt on outdoor furniture, door and window sills, and other exposed surfaces in our backyards. With windows closed, we can dust our indoor furniture, and within a half an hour, need to dust it again. It is fine enough that it gets into our homes through our windows, seals, and vents. It is so bad that during the day, Monday to Friday, we cannot open our windows in the back of our homes to let fresh air in when the pit is operating. We also cannot sit and enjoy our backyards during the week. CBM tells us there is more dirt in the air because the farmer works the field. That would be true if they were plowing the field, but not on a regular day. The cumulative effect of the dirt and dust from the 15 or more active pits that surround our homes explains why some of my neighbors now have asthma and breathing issues. The dirt and dust that we currently inhale is extensive. Imagine how much worse it will be with a gravel pit within 60 meters of our property lines. Years ago, building a house within 500 meters of a gravel pit was not allowed. Why is it now acceptable to allow a gravel pit to be within 60 meters of a residential neighborhood? The Region of Waterloo's official plan requires that rezoning applications for major facilities include a study of dust specifying that the proposed operation will not have adverse effects on nearby sensitive receptors. The region further requires that this study must take into account the potential cumulative impacts from nearby sources. The provincial policy statement, which governs the land use planning in Ontario, states that major facilities and sensitive land uses are planned and developed to avoid or minimize and mitigate adverse effects. CBM's study report does not meet these requirements. It did not include any measurements of dust levels near our residences. Furthermore, it only considered their two pits, Danson Dabrowski and the Hanson pit, and ignored the other 15 or so active pits and busy dusty roads within 5 kilometers of our neighborhood. The smaller dust particles, referred to as PM 2.5, persist, accumulate, and travel in the atmosphere for a significant time and distance. PM 2.5 is associated with short-term impacts on sensitive people, asthmatics, the young, and the elderly, and reduced life expectancy according to a 2021 report from Health Canada. These factors are dangerous to our health from the perspective of what we are inhaling, the lack of sleep that we suffer from, and the stress and anxiety that having the pit in an existing location creates. Allowing CBM to expand within 60 meters of our property lines will make these factors even more unbearable for us. We are aware of the deed to the land that states the proposed expansion area is to remain agricultural. The residents were told when they built their homes that there would be no expansion of the dance pit and it would never come any closer to their properties than where it was at that time. They were told the farmer's field would remain agricultural and would be farmed. This agreement attached to the land in question was a vital component in the decision-making process of planning and developing the neighborhoods we live in today. Because of all these factors that I have stated to you and to the deed of the land agreement, I am respectfully requesting that you deny the approval of this rezoning application and help support our message to the ministry to uphold and honor the deed to the land. Thank you.
I'd like to start now. Carol Walker.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm here tonight to show my opposition to the expansion of the dance pit. Rezoning application should be denied. Since moving here, I am alarmed by the amount of pits in the area. I have learned a great deal since then about aggregate mining in the region. What I have read has not assured me that this type of industry is sufficiently managed by the province. I live in Cambridge Ward 6 and have seen dust blowing on the streets and dirt accumulating around my house. I'm deeply concerned for my neighbors, my family, the students and teachers in local schools, the seniors' home, and also the environment. The dance pit should never have been opened so close to residences in the first place. I have read the CBM planning justification report And I see phrases like, there will be no significant adverse impacts on the neighboring residents or the natural environment. I don't agree, because there definitely will be adverse impacts. It is obvious there will be. And these impacts will affect more than just the adjacent area, as the dust will carry further into the city. We've heard from many people. I have read the letters from my neighbors detailing how they cannot enjoy their backyards now, and this will only get worse. There won't be any peace and quiet 5 days a week for years. Our homes are sanctuaries, which we've worked our lives to enjoy, all ruined so that CBM can make their profits. There are no benefits to our community. There are only negatives. They say they will make recommendations to prevent and mitigate adverse effects, but that's not good enough just to make recommendations. And another quote, they will minimize the potential for groundwater disturbance or contamination. Minimize is not good enough. Apparently CBM has some kind of magical cure-all that will fix all the damage while they ravage the environment. Claims to return the site to agriculture are unbelievable when you see what has been happening in this region. 80% have not been rehabilitated in Waterloo region. Theirs is a fairy tale story. Credibility. I expect people and companies to honor their contracts. CBM says they don't want to follow their contract. Governments and communities make decisions based on agreements, and we expect the government to uphold those contracts. Making life miserable for many people is not a problem for them. Threatening our very health by way of dust insulation, no problem. Continuing the endless parade of trucks through the area is not a problem for them. They simply don't care. If they did care, they would not be making this application. This rezoning is not necessary. It is not necessary because Ontario has upwards of 50 years of gravel stockpiled. The pit expansion is not necessary. This company has plenty of other pits to mine. It is not necessary to cause more noise in our neighborhood. It is not necessary to create more hazardous dust particles. It is not necessary to extend the life of this pit when we all await the happy day when it finally closes and lessens the dangerous truck traffic in the area. It is not necessary to disrupt wildlife in the area. It is not necessary to take more risks in damaging the wetlands nearby. The city of Cambridge officially opposes the expansion, and I am hopeful that the town of Dumfries does as well. I am imploring the town of Dumfries to deny the application for rezoning the dance pit mine. I hope the town will show us all that they care about our quality of life, that our health and well-being will take precedence. Thank you very much.
Casey Joanna Stevens.
Good evening. My name is Casey Stevens, and I live on Grand Ridge Drive, right behind Southwood Secondary School. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of my family, my brother James Stevens, my father Jeffrey Stevens, and my mother Lynn Stevens. Some of you may have met my mother. She was an environmentalist and spent many years fighting gravel pits that were encroaching on our community, not only for environmental reasons, but for the effect it would have on the peaceful enjoyment of our homes and the impact it would have on the members of our community who have health issues. And for a while, she succeeded in halting the encroachment of gravel pits. However, I'm speaking today on her behalf because she is not able to be here herself. She passed away unexpectedly in the fall of 2018. She was 67 years old. She died of what her doctors referred to as a catastrophic cardiac arrest. It was the second cardiac arrest she suffered. The first occurred in the fall of 2015. The causes of her cardiac arrest were attributed to the years of stress on her heart due to her severe asthma. I would be lying if I said that the existing gravel pits in our area didn't contribute significantly to the worsening of her respiratory issues, which eventually developed into chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. I know it did because she told me so, and I also witnessed it myself firsthand. When we moved from Toronto in 2003, she was hoping that the fresh air would eventually
helped to improve her asthma, but that was not the case. She commented frequently about the amount of dust we had, and on days when the wind was blowing in the direction of our homes, she struggled to breathe and had to stay indoors due to the fine particulate air pollution. Despite all this, she continued to show up and fight gravel pits. If she was here today, I know she would be at this meeting tonight speaking up and advocating for our community, especially for those like her who had health issues and that are worsened by dust and other forms of air pollution spewed by gravel pits operating 11 hours a day, 5 days a week. That is why I'm here today, to speak for my mom, my family, and our community. My mom believed that even one voice speaking up about something important can make a difference, and I hope that mine does. Thank you.
Here's your mom and I dealt with a lot of issues together. I was so sturdy. I'm sorry for the loss. We all that loss. Names we have James Noble and Ariba Nabita. Are they? Oh, they are virtual. No, they're not.
Hey everyone, I didn't prepare anything because I have it all in my head. I think we're all here, everybody shared what they really concern, and I think it's not new for anyone sitting here. I came from a different country that really I was hoping to move to a country that happens people. Absolutely amazing to come to Canada hoping for a new life. We purchased my father-in-law's house because my husband was very, very connected, had lots of people there. So I think I wrote this for him so far. And as a result, we moved to this house. We built it the way we wanted. And unfortunately, I have asthma. And the pollution that already existed that we've been talking about, with coming gravel pit to the backyard, really moving us away from the house. We love the dream house that we built together. And concerning all the issues that we have with the food safety, air pollution, everything, I'm just wondering why we all community have to stand here and ask everyone to concern about this, because I think we're living in the same society that we live in. I don't think there's any of these topics new for you. There's like a huge issue going around about the mental health. I'm a mental health worker, I'm a clinical social worker. I do therapy from morning to evening. I talk with lots of people with mental health. And we know how much our mental health and physical health is connected. I'm sure so many people here already reaching out for therapy because we don't know how to take care of our health. I work in healthcare every day, people coming with lots of stress-related issues. Every day they're coming with digestive issues, which is all related to nervous system or a stress level. And we're sitting here and talking about profit in some company that they're going to take the money to somewhere else. They don't know that where. And we're asking all of us, insisting that please hear us, that something that you are all aware what is happening in our backyard. And I think we're really just asking, can we have from a child to a senior, we're asking, can we be able to open our backyard and sit after a whole day of stressful work that we had? We can have a little bit of time to enjoy a small backyard that we have already, which is again already affected by all the pollution that all other gravel pits already created. It is unfortunate that we have to stand here and request for fresh air. It is a sad story, but I really hope that in future they think this was the change, this was the transformation that we needed after 2 years of the pandemic. We need to open our eyes and look around and see why a child should come here and ask for fresh air, ask for a backyard to play. And I don't really want to kind of make a statement, but I am really hoping that this should be the time that we look around and see what we are doing with the community that we are living in. And it's gonna have a ripple effect to the whole country, obviously, because again, this is what we are already seeing it. But at the end of the day, I think you guys have the voice, you're elected to be standing for us. We shouldn't quit for the last 3-4 years. It was interesting that the one who's talking from the CBM said, we last long this process for 3 years. Guess what? You put us through a hell of a stress in the last 2 years. That was not compliment. That was actually showing that they left us hanging for the last 3-4 years, which is a shame. In 2022, we have to stand here and ask for everyone, please let us have a fresh air. So I really want you to consider your life, your kids, your families that living in the same neighborhood. Which is again, as I said, mental health is not going to be lived around us. It's going to have a ripple effect, whole society. So I hope you are sitting in this position, take our concern, go ahead and consider and refuse this request or application. Thank you so much.
Cynthia, do we have Doug and Lori's breath?
Yes, I'm just gonna unmute them.
Let's go through them one by one and Cynthia can unmute them.
Doug and Lori, I'm just asking you to unmute. Okay, you can speak now. We can hear you.
Cynthia, we can't hear anything.
Doug and Lori, can you speak up, please?
Have them check the volume on their system. Cynthia, can we bring on Michelle Ennis until we can get them, Doug and Lori worked out? Michelle, can you speak, please? Councilor Astley, what were you saying about these types of meetings?
The what?
These types of meetings?
Yeah. Should have got rid of the hybrid meetings.
Just so while we're waiting for more speakers to know, I want you to know that North Countries have been fighting aggregates for a lot of years. I was the past chair of TAPMO, which is the top aggregate producing municipalities of Ontario, fighting aggregates, not fighting, but finding a solution to aggregates, right, Steve? Because Steve is not the villain here. He's just a guy working a job. But the government, along with the big ends of the aggregate industry, are who we're fighting, really. We're asking them to be more lenient. Councilor McCreary sits on TAPMO with me, as we're on the boards. I chaired at TAPMO for a number of years, met with the ministers, and all of your requests I asked 100 times over. We'll be talking, Brian, because I would like to see if we can get the premier to your area.
Yeah, we have a new minister.
Yeah, I saw that. So, but I'd like to get the premier to see you back there.
Yeah.
If we can. So
I'd like to get the two presentations and I'll
Yes.
present.
Thank you. Do we have anybody yet, Cynthia?
I'd like to reach out to Doug and Lori Spry, Claire DeJong, Michelle Ennis, and the other three attendees that I don't recognize their names. Can you please exit the meeting and go back in? And we'll see if this technical issue can be fixed that way. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Fox, who was the two people that you requested that we had reached out?
One was the Minister of Agriculture. I believe it's Lisa Thompson. She's wonderful. But I think she has to realize how much we're losing here. And if you take, and what I've done is superimpose the aggregate map over the prime agriculture, so they can see the prime agriculture and see how the aggregate is configured to store it. Because don't forget, agriculture is classified as farmland, which is a huge, and we're fighting that. Tapmo's fighting that at the province right now, and with against impact. Impact is standing by it, saying it is, and we're saying no.
Ashley, I'm here.
Go ahead, Kim, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Kim Denowden. I live at 1488 Alps Road. I oppose the zoning bylaw amendment, and I'm here to talk about the history of this pit because I don't understand and I question why we are even here today. In 1996, I was elected to the Council of North Dumfries. At that time, we were looking at this application for this pit originally. I see in the documents that were provided by staff that there is an application approval from 1993 by the original owners, the Dances. But I know that when I joined the council in 96, there was a more intense application at the time. It must have been the people who were taking the company, and I don't remember who they are now. It's changed so many times over the years, that this company had to go under a more extensive application because of the changes in the Aggregate Act that came in 1994. I don't see those documentations in the staff package, and I think we need to see them because those documentations hold a lot of information, especially concerning this 79 hectares. Also, it then went to the OMB, which was brought to the OMB by the city of Cambridge, who was representing you people who are here tonight. Again, I remember sitting there listening to the constituents from the city saying that, you know, they didn't want a pit. So we came with, it went to the OMB, and from that came this new sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to excuse me. It's 3 o'clock in the morning here. I'm 5 hours ahead. I'm in the UK and I've been sitting up all night waiting. So the 1998 OMB hearing did sort of bring around the fact that this 79 hectares, 40 acres, whatever it is, was not to be mined. That, you know, it was the buffer to the constituents in the city of Cambridge. I don't understand why we're here discussing this. There was an agreement. Now, I would like to see this OMB agreement and what was said in there and what was written, because legally, I think it was a binding agreement. I don't understand yet how anything that wasn't an OMB is not upheld today. So I would like to see these documentations.
Township staff have provided the documentations to the organizations, the groups.
And as I've said, Mayor Foxton, that's not enough. There is documentation from 1996 And we have not seen the documentations of this OMB hearing, and we need to see that. And I think it has to be reviewed. I'd like to review it with a legal source, because I don't think we should be here. I think it's a legal binding document, and there's no reason why
Last minute.
coming ahead and trying to undo something that's been done for 25 years. Interestingly enough, you are now hearing from the people who have had to live with this pit for 25 years. And no one has come forward to say that they like living there. And they're bringing forward all the things that this pit is bringing to them: the dust, the traffic, the noise. So, you know, we actually should be learning from this, that, you know, when we make these decisions, here we are now 25 years later, and these people are telling us what they have to live with. The buffer is there for a reason. We don't need to change what we already have in place.
Thank
The
you, Kim.
applicant,
Next
is my time up?
Yes,
Excuse
it
me,
is.
I don't think my 5 minutes is up, not concerning my clock.
Yeah, we timed it. We have a timer right here. Thank you.
Okay, right, fine, thank you. And when will I be receiving those documents?
So,
When can I expect
do we have
that?
any of the others? Do we have Michelle Ennis or Keith Muir? Cynthia? What about Rick France?
He's here.
Rick, can you hear us and can you speak?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Rick, please go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. First of all, to council and mayor, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I would like to also thank all the other participants that have voiced their democratic right to voice an opinion here, and council giving them the opportunity to listen to them. I would just like to voice my support in all those people that have spoken, and my opposition to this expansion. The dust is a very big concern of mine. I've had asthma for many, many years. I'm born and raised in Toronto, moved to Kitchener, I moved to Waterloo. I had very minimal asthma issues. I thought I'd come down to this great city of Cambridge, which I've always loved, and we've been down here for about 3 years now. And my minimal asthma has become a major issue, and I am relatively close. I live a kilometer or so from where this expansion is to be taking place. And I had no idea it was all because of perhaps of these aggregate issues. My understanding from the various doctors I've spoken to is dust or silica that has been mentioned previously by other participants. Once it's breathed into the lung, even normal dust, it's permanent. It stays there forever. It never comes out. So whatever minimalization they do to reduce the dust in the area, the trees and the berms, I'm kind of chuckling. I can't see that. That's just common sense. The other issue that was raised was returning it to farmland. I think anyone, you don't have to be a scientist. I mean, I've lived in residential neighborhoods, and if you try to grow anything in the backyard where they've built your house, it's impossible unless you bring in new topsoil and fertilize it very well. It's no longer good farmland. So I really, really question, once you remove all that topsoil, what do you put back? Will it ever work? I really, really would like to see the studies that prove that. So I raised that concern. And the other issue that was mentioned is the traffic on Cedar Creek Road. Well, I've used that regularly, and I have to concur. Those trucks are not only a hazard, the number of them, but also the gravel that they toss up and the gravel that stays on the road. I wonder how much the region, or indeed your government, pays to clean that road for all the stuff that drops on there from those trucks driving by. Regardless, my main concern is the dust. I strongly urge council to reject this application. I again, thank you very much for giving me the time to speak, and on behalf of everyone else. Oh, sorry, one final comment. There was a comment made by the engineering firm that represented the company, said they'd never seen this kind of response on any of their meetings before. Well, I can only say, maybe because they haven't advertised them. I found out about this meeting quite by accident, and I would very much heartfully thank that person, and I assume they're a participant, for coming by my house. I didn't see them, but they dropped a leaflet on my front porch with a very nice colorful map telling me about this meeting and how I could apply and where I needed to if I had any concerns. And it was very informative, non-biased, and just said, you should be aware of this. So whoever did that, thank you very much. I doubt it was the aggregate company themselves, and that's probably why they don't get much participation in any of their other meetings. I've heard absolutely nothing about this anywhere at any time, and I'm surprised that it's been running around for such a long time. I don't think it's the city and council or the region's responsibility. The aggregate company making the application should have dropped something in the mail, and our neighborhood should have been made aware of this, at least the community. So thank you once again for listening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Good night.
Do we have any other speakers that wish to speak on the virtual? Cynthia?
Claire DeJong was just brought in.
Claire,
Claire,
can
did
you
you
hear me?
Claire, you're on mute.
Am I in now?
Yes,
Hello?
you're on.
Okay, I don't know how to, I'm not a real speaker and I don't really know what I'm doing. But I've been living here for my entire life. I'm from here, went to Southwood High School. And when our house was being built, I did talk to the builder, Empire Homes, and the trailer was on Sullivan Court. And I talked to the builder and he said he's never seen any site that he's been on, and he's been building for quite a few years. My guess would be 20 to 30 years. And he said, I've never seen wind so much on a consistent basis as this site. And so that's a big concern, being that it's even coming closer. And I do blow dust off my driveway once a week, and I'm always surprised how much dust is laying on the driveway. Okay, that second point, sorry. Oh, the second point I have is just like common sense. So let's say there wasn't the gravel pit there where it exists now, and you were driving down the 97 or driving down Cedar Creek. Common sense would say to me, this is not a good place for a gravel pit because it's right beside a subdivision. That's it. That's all I really got to say.
Thank you, Claire. Cynthia, do we have anyone else? I will now open it to the floor. Is anyone else on the floor wish to speak again? Go ahead, sir. Give your name, please.
Yes. My name is George Vandermeer, 28 Ainsworth Crescent, Cambridge, which is in this community. And I'd like to reference what former Mayor Denalden said, and I appreciate that very much because my wife and I have been in our homes for almost 40 years. Yeah. Probably longer than most of you. And so I want to go back in time when the original pit was put in, and there was a public meeting at Southwood School, and the gymnasium was full. And the company listened to all of the concerns and came back a few months later and said, we have listened to the concerns of the public, and we are putting in a buffer zone. We're going to build berms. We're going to put in tree lines, and the community will never know that that gravel pit is there. And now they're asking us to trust them again. It's like Groundhog Day. I know what we're going to hear. We're going to hear them come back and say, we've listened to the concerns. We're gonna move it back a few more meters. We're gonna put up some more berms. We're gonna do all the things that the public has asked us to do. And my point is, we're here 25 years later, and you're hearing what has happened over those 25 years. So I can only draw one of two conclusions. 25 years ago, either this company was incompetent and gave us misleading information about the result of the meeting, or they lied to us. And I don't know, based on that, why this council or the community would trust them again. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have a husband, and since 17 years old, I don't want to go there. My views is not perfect, but I want to say 17 years we need gravity, 550 gravity, and my asthma getting worse. And every month they have to give injection to survive. And my kids not married yet, still student, university. So please, here, and you have to do, and don't go by the law. Law is good, but if you keep them honest, respect them and follow that and finish it and do it right, because we are here all for breathing, health, sickness, everything. So you have to do something.
Anyone else? Last call. Members of council, any comments? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
Moved by myself, second by Council Rowland, that PD report number 29-2022 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further considerations of future report to council on the disposition of this matter.
All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Before we close out the meeting tonight, I want to thank you all. It is a passionate society that changes the world. And sometimes we butt up against laws and regulations and provincial laws and regulations that try to stop us. And they do sometimes stop us. It's a matter of money, but at some point we have to hear and we have to do what we believe to be right. And so we will see what happens. I can't tell you right now how it will go, but your voices will be heard. Make sure they're heard at the upper levels of government, who really fighting. They have your points have to go to the province. They really do. And the conversations have to happen at that level. I'm going to the AMO conference, which is the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, in August. I'm hoping to meet with many of the ministers. I've been very fortunate in the past to meet with many of the ministers. Sitting on TAPMO, we hope to continue to fight at the provincial level. Someday we'll make a difference. One time a councillor said, "Why are you fighting this suit? It's not going to happen in our lifetime." And I said, if we don't take the first step, the other steps never get taken. So thank you very much for your voice. Always have your voice. And now we will go to the bylaw, please.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rowland, the bylaw number 3335-22, being a bylaw to confirm proceedings to council on June the 28th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time, and be finally passed, signed, and sealed by the mayor and clerk.
All those in favor? Gary, thank you. And the final bylaw, please, Councillor Rowland.
Myself, by Council Curry, that whereas business before the public planning meeting has been concluded at 9:53 p.m. Resolved that the meeting adjourns, meets again on July 11th at 6 p.m. for council meeting.
All those in favor? Gary, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a safe ride home.